Hi, this is hilarious. This is my first ever Facebook Live. I want to kind of give a shout out to Amanda for helping me with this. This has been great. So the question is, are you a yoga teacher needing or wanting some type of administrative help? So maybe you need an assistant for helping you organize a retreat, or maybe you're answering questions, to answer questions, take registration, help with promotions, or maybe you need someone to help you with your web, or maybe for your website, or maybe you need someone to help with social media, to post on Facebook. So basically, you're really, really busy teaching as a yoga teacher, and many of your admin tasks are not getting attended to. So how do you find help? Well, you could hire someone professionally, and that would be going through the interviewing process and making sure they have the right skills, doing a job description, paying for them, yada, yada, yada. But what I have found with so many yoga teachers is actually they're at that cusp where they're kind of at a strict budget. The thing is that they are in this position of needing help, but at the same time, they really don't have the money to hire someone. But they just can't get to the next level without having some administrative help. So it's sort of a catch-22. So there's two places that I've found that yoga teachers go to for there's some sort of support like this. One is they hire students. They hire them either as interns, or as they bring them in as volunteers, or maybe they barter with them, or they grab every family and friend that they could possibly have, to help with various functions that they need. So let me talk about those two options first. You can hire your students, and there is an advantage, is that they tend to be inexpensive or even cost for nothing. They'll do it for free because they love you. They want to support you, and their heart is really in it. This disadvantage, however, is that they are your students, and managing them can sometimes be difficult because you have this new role now as their manager, and it's different than a teacher-student kind of relationship. And so when you give feedback, it can be taken pretty personal. So that's a little tricky in there with that relationship. If they come to you and they offer to volunteer for free, well, that is great, and they love you, and they want to help you. But the truth is, you're not really their priority. I mean, you're not paying the bills. And so in their daily work schedule, sometimes you can kind of get bumped to a lower priority. And you get to a lower priority. So keeping kind of deadlines can be challenging as they do this job sort of they're on their off time. So what the solution for that, for hiring students, is that I kind of advise people not to hire students. But honestly, a lot of teachers don't take all my advice, and so they hire students anyway. And that's okay. If you do, I just have these sort of tips, is that first of all, you need to be really clear about what you expect. So detail the tasks, detail the goals, and detail the deadlines. Like, really be clear of when you need it, and really go into, an agreement of what needs to be done. Also, be sure that the student has the skills that you need. A lot of times I've seen teachers go, well, this student wants this and I really want to support the student, and vice versa, but really there's a mismatch of skills versus what you really need. So that doesn't really help either one of you, because you're in this position of managing something that you really don't need, or you're putting the student into a position that they don't really have the skills and they won't be successful. So the next place that teachers go to find administrative help or any type of help is they go to family and friends. And so everything I just said above is the same, and sometimes exponential, because these are dear friends or family members. So you again want to be careful about the boundaries. You want to be clear about what you need and the compensation involved. But let's say in this example that you actually barter. It's not free, that you barter a workshop. So the question is, how do you determine that? Like, how do you determine that value? And there's some people say that, well, it's my usual hourly rate, and I'm just going to work 5 hours, at this amount of money, and I'll put that towards the workshop. And that could work. Other people are kind of actually bartering hours for hours. Like, maybe a teacher wants to give a private for someone's they're going to use their services for an hour. Sometimes that can get a little tricky because your hourly rate is different than their hourly rate. I've had people to say, listen, it's an hour of time. It doesn't matter that in the market I get more money and you get less money, but let's just do an hour for hour. So there are few ways that you can do the bartering, but again, you want to be really, really clear, like this number of hours of work or this job completed for this sort of exchange. So let's see, have the amount of the the other thing that I found is with the people sometimes will have you still be doing that exchange and actually before, you want that all completed before the workshop or whatever they're getting in return. So I've also seen where teachers have allowed the student to work after the workshop or after the training. You really don't want that to happen because again, there's that confusion and it's hard to collect. And besides, it doesn't make sense. People need to pay for a workshop, whether they pay with cash or whether they pay with their time. So those are the two places that people can get admin help, is they go to their students or they go to their friends and family. And that is inexpensive and that can be really a good relationship, but you really need to be clear about the boundaries and you really need to be clear about the exchange. And also take into consideration that that relationship, especially with this teacher and student, is really a teacher-student, and moving that into the boss student, boss employee. I mean, that student is now going to see you with all your warts and bumps and everything. But there's one place I wanted to just offer up that's an online place called Fiverr. If you haven't heard of it, it's www.fiverr, like 5 with 2 R's. And they do lots of different services: graphics, design, writing and translation, video, music. They will write a press release, they'll create a logo, and do digital marketing and help you with social media. I mean, there's just so many different things, and they start at $5. So, the advantage of this is it's really inexpensive. There's not this emotional component of the relationship with students and friends, and it's just strictly purchasing services. I was trying to think of a disadvantage, and I can't really think of a disadvantage because I actually found that you could get a press release written and released to 225 outlets for $5. I'm not sure that's like a big risk in the sense of, and they have like reviews and stuff so you can see how good the people are. So that's Fiverr. So overall, if you decide to go to these routes with friends and families, know that they will be seeing you, like I said, with all your warts and your bumps. And the students, they see you in this category, in this classroom or in the yoga studio, and you've got this really sort of, you're in your element, you're really in this, place of your like authentic, powerful self, and they see you outside of the business when there's all these, conflicts or some of your fears and everything. So you want to be sure that that relationship can sustain both of those sort of interactions with that student. But if not, there's a few little tips I'll have here so that, you can decrease the stress and the unpleasantries. And the one thing I would say is anytime you work with someone like in this kind of capacity is be sure to maintain your professionalism. So, keep your professionalism off the mat as well as in your, yoga studio when you're teaching your classes. You want to keep your processing and your venting out of the office. I would suggest not doing that with your student or even doing with any employee, honestly, but getting professional help with your therapist or your best friend and confidant. Go there, not to your employee, whether they're students or not. Third, really keep clear boundaries. I say this with compassion, but you really need to be clear about what works and what doesn't work. And I just heard of Brene Brown. It's a recording that I'm sure she's done forever ago. Just yesterday, I was listening to her again, and she was saying, without boundaries, you can't be compassionate, because being compassionate is having boundaries, really letting people know what you need and how you need it. And then the last thing is communicate clearly your expectations in the areas of responsibility and deadlines so that there's no frustrations on either side. So yes, you can find inexpensive and good help. Many yoga businesses, almost all the teachers I've worked with have somehow bartered or somehow worked with students and friends and family to get some things they needed until they could really hire somebody, not that they're not professional, but hire somebody and pay them. So it's, you can do it. You can just approach it in a way that you will get really great results. So that's my first live ever, a nice and short and sweet. Again, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Amanda. I call her Am the Wizard, for being so great in her support in my little new first live adventure. So I'm going to be here each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with these tips. If you want to ask any questions, you're welcome to email me at info@yonispeaks.com. That's info@yonispeaks.com. And I will be here and I'll answer the questions as best I can based on all that I know. Anyways, that's it for me now. So thank you and have a great day.